I have a Plaguefall 2. That seems like a good place for us to start. My group plus. Plaguefall. No worries. And I intend to stream this again, so if that's a problem for somebody, I can go a different route. I don't care about that. I just want to make sure not everybody is 100% comfortable having their voice. I hate to say broadcasted because that makes it seem like there's more than one person listening, but nice. Nice. Just one of those things, right? I don't think people, generally speaking, care too much. It's just if it's a surprise, that's when people can get a little put off.
Yeah.
So also, if somebody joins our channel, if you could help me remember to remind them that they are on Candid Camera. As we're flying there, other Zeph had a fun, teachable tidbit for everybody. Do you want to share your Discord alert with everyone?
Nope.
Would you consider doing it anyway?
Well, so the thing I linked you is just like a bot that you add to Discord. I don't know, like I added it to a server. You're talking about the Raider.io thing I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like a bot that broadcasts to, like, we would add that to a channel in Guild Discord.
And it would post once a week.
Yeah. So that's not exactly like a tip.
I think you can also set it up like if you had your own private server. I don't think we're going to be adding it because it creates guild clutter here, but if somebody had, like, Destiny and I have our own just work chat private server, anybody had that can equip it to their own server for updates. It just shows you the weekly affixes, and you can even sign up for advanced information giving you like brief little 1 or 2 sentence synopses about what the challenges of that week are going to be for each affix. Dovetails kind of nicely into my tip number 1, which is Raider.io has something that they put out in cooperation with the caster Dratnos called the Weekly Routes. I'm going to still put off going through Mythic Dungeon tools until next week when we have a better understanding of what we're doing. But in the absence of like any previous experience or any real like foundational understanding, if someone just said, you know, we're in a 6, this has to be done in time, I need you to come up with a route. They're not perfect, but there are some very good routes on Raider.io.com's The Weekly Route, and it changes every week on Tuesday. They'll briefly discuss the 3 affixes plus the seasonal affix, and then he goes through all 8 maps discussing what is the good, the bad, and the ugly about this week on this map. And then we'll offer 2 importable Mythic Dungeon tool strings, 1 route with no skipping, and then 1 route with some skipping. Skipping implies either having a rogue for Shroud or using an invisibility pot, or in some cases you can do it with like Mind Soothe and or Ring of Peace to just make a gap to sneak through. But, you know, that's one of those sort of valuable things. It helps you get a baseline understanding for what the week looks like, why some weeks are harder for certain dungeons than they are for others, and gives you an actionable route. Like I said, they're not great. Once you guys are comfortable with Mythic Dungeon tools, which we'll talk about next week, I think it's going to be best if everybody sort of creates their own routes if it's something you're serious about doing for trying to get a key in time. But, you know, if you just log in and somebody grabs you and it's a 10 and you have no idea what the prideful routing looks like and you just want to go, these Dratnos routes, courtesy of Raider.io, are actually decent. So, does anybody have Mythic Dungeon tools installed?
I do not.
No worries. We'll talk about it next week. That'll be homework between this week and next. Try to install the add-on Mythic Dungeon tools. And I'll try to remember to remind us at the end. Alright, so we are going to put the key in. We're going to run the dungeon like normal. At a 2, all we have is Fortified, which is bigger trash problems. Which means the bosses here are going to be a little bit easier for us, which is great because this is a terrible, terrible dungeon for hard bosses. And there will be a couple of opportunities for us to utilize our healing potions as a coordinated defensive cooldown moment, as well as we'll try to find a place to skip using the invisibility potions. To manufacture that skip, I will be pulling more than I should. So this is not an example of great pathing for like 100% efficiency or for prideful, but it is going to allow us to skip some stuff towards the end. So on a fortified week, we want to focus more on chewing through mob damage, mob health, quickly and effectively. So a lot of times people will have different builds, even within the same spec, for prioritizing single target versus AE damage or cleave damage. This is one of those weeks where your raid build is probably not the most optimal one. Now, some people, some specs have the same build kind of no matter what, and it's more about what you're spending resource on. But for other people, there are radically different builds out there. If you know what that build is, you should swap on a fortified week to something that is cleave focused, AE focused, because we're going to spend most of our time in the trash, which is true in every dungeon. You're going to spend most of your time in the trash, but here we're going to have even more time spent in a fortified week devoted to not just high health mobs, but also those tricky ones. Within our first pull, we're going to see something called the Fungistormer, who does a pulsing party-wide damage buff that basically has to be stunned at high fortified keys or it will just wipe your group. We'll probably try our first healing potion there because it's right off the bat and it's a lot of fun. But if you have... Go ahead.
Go do an AoE build.
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
Chatting, should I step out and go switch my talents for an AoE build?
Oh, no. If you feel you need to swap, I have a tome you can borrow. Borrow, as in implying I'm going to get it back. You can have.
I did not bring tomes. I guess I should have. But yeah, anybody who wants to swap, if Sventies has a couple of extra, I'll reimburse you. Let's get everybody in their best cleave AE spec.
And that's usually one of the first things. Mythic Plus is mostly cleave, as long as your cleave does a lot of good damage. Sometimes you might want to spec for the boss damage, but that's rare.
And this is one of those dungeons with tricky bosses where if you are a class that does absolutely garbage AoE and you do strong single target, there's always an argument to be made to just talk with the group and say, you know, I'm a frost mage. My AoE damage is not great. My 2-target cleave is solid, but like 8 mobs at the same time, I'm going to be at the bottom. But my single target's actually really strong, so maybe talk with the group and say, like, you know, because Margrave's Tordama, because Domina Venomblade are such huge pains in the ass, does it make sense for me to stay single target? And in a dungeon like this, there might be a strong argument for if you don't really toggle well into a full-blown AE spec, then maybe you just stay single target specialist. Alright then. Did we do Plaguefall last week?
Yes.
In like Bootcamp, I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if this was one of the ones we did or not. I was trying to create variety whenever I can, but... I ran it a lot last week on several characters, so I can't really keep it all straight. Alright, guys. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And did we get to keep our health stone? Did anybody confirm or deny?
I still have mine.
I still have mine as well. Lies.
Alright. Try is getting the moon.
Full moon. So, on a non-fortified week, every tank is going to pull this big giant into the next pull. Because it's fortified, I'm going to just be a little conservative and we'll pull just the flesh giant. One thing you want to watch out for here is that plague rock to our far right. As we're kiting away from this stuff, Don't go hard right because you'll run into that Plague Rock, and we definitely don't want that.
I fucked up.
If you make a mistake or if you draw aggro like that, the best thing you can do is come and stand on the tank. I know that sometimes there's like this panic reaction of I need to run away from danger. The farther you move, the harder it is for the tank to regain threat, especially if they start getting spread out. The skull that I've
You're
marked...
making it worse. You're making it worse.
A little bit, yeah. It's just like they're relying on some AoE talents to try to get that threat back because we can't really taunt everything at the same time. We'll try to taunt one thing and then wait 8 seconds to taunt the next. Otherwise, we're waiting on AE damage effects, cleave effects to basically out-threat whatever damage you've done to that thing. So that's a lot easier if they're all tightly compacted. So you see that Fungus Storm he's casting there? That's what needs to be stunned. I think we have 2 Capacitor Totems, so let's try to get the first Fungus Storm cast Capacitor Totem stunned, and then the second one we'll just use our Spiritual Healing Potion if we get below 70%.
Yep.
Those guys are so capacitor totem.
So there are multiple ways to
Oh
pull
no!
it.
That was a bad tab target. I'm sorry.
We're good.
I was trying to tab target the little one.
Fungus Stormer is the same deal here, so stun this if we can. If not, health potions when you get low.
Cap down. Cap is down.
The unexpected will almost certainly always happen, so being able to call audibles and be flexible is huge. We ran a 12 or a 13 Plaguefall last week, and we accidentally body pulled 2 packs that we didn't need, so there was an audible to go an entirely different route at the very last minute. And so right here, we can shoot this gap. This is one of those, we don't need stealth to skip it, but we need to just be careful and only walk where the tank is walking. In a Prideful Key, you do not want that pat here. So just be cautious of where you're stepping when someone tells you to watch out. I know that sometimes it seems like an oopsie causes very little trouble, but when you're talking about trying to get 20% prideful marks specifically done quite precisely, then accidentally body pulling a pack ruins the math for the entire dungeon. Not in like you're horrible and you've totally ruined my whole life kind of thing, but just you should be aware that it has significant impact.
As a shaman in your Zell,
your life.
something you can do is you can just start spamming Purge if you have the GCDs. Oh my goodness, try.
They give me Fell Devastation for a reason.
They do. Cap totem.
I'm also a little big for my britches in here. I probably shouldn't be quite so cavalier. And every tank has like a different damage pattern and survivability cooldown pattern. One advice that I have to players is often sort of learn how tanks generate threat, because they're each going to do it differently. So as a demon hunter, a lot of the damage that I do, and thereby threat, comes from the detonation of my sigils, which unfortunately takes almost 2 full seconds to go off. So once I leap in, there's still a 2-second period of time where everything except that primary target probably has little to no threat on it whatsoever. So be cautious with AoE when you have a Demon Hunter tank. The nice thing is their damage is so high, and thereby their threat threshold is so high, that even after that first sigil, you're probably good to go completely ham for the rest of the fight, even after they have to start kiting. But there's that initial little, the first 2 critical seconds where I don't have threat on most of that pack. So if you go absolutely balls out, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the sort of place you should expose your balls anyway.
Keep balls in with Demon Hunter.
Alright, so we got an opportunity here. This boss is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to talk through all of the abilities to make sure that people kind of understand how things click. We'll still get this key in time, I suspect. Keep talking?
Keep talking.
Sure,
I have to run for 1 second.
No worries. He will do a stomp that knocks everybody back in the direction that your back is currently pointed. that you can do nothing about. That's going to happen to everybody. If you have a leap or a charge or anything like that to get back in quickly, that's an ideal situation. Because shortly after that, he'll do a frontal cone of nasty oozeness, and obviously cones are much wider at the terminus of their shape than they are at the beginning. So right after he knocks everybody back, thump, then he does a giant pie wedge cone. If you haven't moved back to close to that boss's hitbox, you are likely going to get caught in that cone, and in a tyrannical week it will just kill you. So after he stomps, there's a lot of caster, I think, instinct is just to get right back into your rotation quickly. And you can if you've got a charge of blink on standby, so you can get your rotation back online and then just before the cone comes, bank on a blink. But if you don't have your movement cooldown up, you have to start stutter stepping your way back to the boss's hitbox, because when that cone happens, you're going to have very little time to react. Secondly, he summons 2 different types of oozes, and he will, if they reach him, eat them and restore a ton of health. So there is a Zerg strategy for this boss where we will CC the oozes and burn him, completely ignoring them. That means we have to watch cleave damage near the boss until I can get him away from the big ooze. But basically we're just single target tunneling this guy down. I can imprison the big ooze that's going to spawn kind of right in front of where he's standing now, but if we can use Earthbind Totem or Frost Nova to try to get the smaller ones that spawn in waves, that's just basically effectively less boss health. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, let's give it a shot, guys. Here comes the knockback.
Stomp. If you have anything that can self-cleanse, you can also remove that debuff if it's hard to move.
It is a disease. Here's that cone we talked about. Nice. Now in 3 seconds, the slimes are going to start spawning, starting with the big one. I will imprison that, but everybody has to watch their cleave damage and AoE damage behind the boss in that little river of shit. I thought I could imprison it. I was wrong. I'm so sorry, guys.
Okay.
Huh.
Stomp.
It's alright. We can easily out DPS the healing he's getting, but I'm more embarrassed that imprison didn't work.
Yeah, I think it's an aberration, John.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well.
I think that's why Banish works on it.
Yeah. I'll live and learn.
Yeah. Like you said, it's learning, right?
Oh, for sure. I was just excited that I was going to get to use actual CC on it. This is another area where you'll see several tanks go different ways. Dratnos goes to the right, and we'll say the Andro pull, the guild pull is usually to the left here. For the sake of seeing it the other way, because I think everybody's seen us go left before, I think we're going to go right. There's also a fun... You see the unstable canister there that I've marked as the skull? There are all 3 of them gathered around it like a hobo in a trash can. Those unstable canisters will detonate and do friendly fire damage to those guys. So I'm going to leap down there. We're going to do this pull here. But if you guys can kill that canister, don't be in the circle when it happens. But if we can slow them, root them, do anything we can to keep them in that circle, like Ring of Peace works, Earthbind Totem works, Frost Nova works, and then just drop a Blizzard on them so that they're slowed. When that canister explodes, it's going to do a ton of damage to them.
That AoE that you see on the ground there is the canister. Back away. There you go. So Carrot got... That is a disease. It is cleansable. I can't get it, but that canister will kill you instantly on most high keys, so... If there's one thing you don't screw around with, it's that debuff. And you will see that debuff again during the gauntlet. It's the exact same one.
Don't ever be in front of this Blighted Spinebreaker, the big old fat boy here. He does a nasty frontal cone. A decent tank will always point him away, but, there's only so much we can do for melee DPS if you guys wander into that threat zone. And then all these slithering oozes, just run over them. You step on them and they die. However, you will take stacks of a dot.
Damage.
So if you don't have a personal defensive available, or if you're at low health, definitely don't do those things. Is anybody here a Maldrexus person? I forget what they're called.
Necrolord.
Thank you. Okay, well, if you're ever here on a Necrolord, these oozes offer additional benefits when you fleshcraft them. That's like basically the Necrolord bonus here.
Yep.
Definitely worth doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Purple, green, and red slimes all give bonus Necrolord bonuses. Also, the red slime is a puddle. If your healer can take it, they give 25% haste while you're standing in it. So
Same plan. We're going to just draw this stuff over to the canister.
Okay.
We'll use the canister to...
give you an Earthbind.
Thank you.
There. And that canister is doing...
all of the damage.
quite literally, that canister is doing more DPS than the entire group. And that's not a dig on you, that's just how strong they are.
We'll do the same pull here with this Plaguebinder using this canister in the water here. Do we have an Earthbind totem available?
Yes, 8 seconds. It's Earth. I'm not
grasp.
talented into the root.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I am not confirmed talented into the root one. I have the slow one that's natural. I have the reduction in stun totem on that row.
Okay, so this is another tricky pull. I'm going to bring it back mostly towards where we're standing now, but you see those slimes there, as well as the slime claws on the hill just beyond them. We don't want to pull either of these normally. We are going to pull them here so we have extra percentage for a skip, but if you take this path with another tank or, just on your own, most of the percentages will not require you to pull these slimes or that stuff on the other side of that berm. So remember to hug right here and be careful. I'm going to point the Plaguebinder down towards the river.
I got a bad feeling about this.
If you have a ranged interrupt, always be looking to get opportunities to... Oh, Jesus. Was that a grip on the Plaguebinder? If so, that was pretty awesome.
Already aggro.
Nope, he's part of that pack, but that was really good. I thought I would have to... Oh, no,
Yeah,
no.
That's one of those things we talked about last week, where if you can help tanks out by either interrupting casters or dragging them in like that, that is how you make best friends for life. Because there's nothing more frustrating for a tank than to hit 3 of the 4 mobs in a group and have them all come running and then have one persistent guy out there just pummeling the healer, and you have to keep tab taunting over to taunt him. That sucks.
Yeah.
Didn't you say we were going to kill those slimes?
Oh, you're right. Sorry. You are correct. We want to be over percentage so we can skip something later. So acting against muscle memory.
So these guys, you see, that detonation on their back, that is the exact same thing as the canisters.
Sorry, we'll go back. And the tentacle, you'll always want the tank to be there first, because if the tank isn't in melee, it will grab someone else.
There's a canister in the water. Try using it, or...
Yeah, I just want to get a little bit of aggro, because I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
Nice.
So another thing is not every tank will be able to do that as cleanly as others. Like, demon hunters and monks are really good at it, but paladins, warriors, bears, they'll have a rough time. Because if they get slowed, they can't get out.
I often just have to use survival instincts to survive through it. So on this island here, there's sometimes a tendency for people to strafe. Do you see the little ploppy puddles in the water? Each one of those is a submerged tentacle. If you body pull it, you have to let everybody know quickly, because they will do a ton of damage to the party if they're not actively being tanked, and we don't really want that. The gauntlet that we're in now keeps happening until we engage that Blightweaver over there. So I'm going to leap away now, but he will basically always inexhaustibly just continue to cast those little shitburgers.
Shitburgers, like White Castle?
Exactly like White Castle. Oh, there goes that sponsorship.
Dropping a slow totem for you.
Thank you.
And I'll get carrot.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's also worth noting that if you have a resurrection spell, it's often polite, at least, good manners, to offer to res someone while the healer drinks. Or if the healer and the tank want to take off and start the next pull. Sometimes you can do it a lot easier being short 1 DPS than you can being short 1 healer. If that makes any sense.
Yep. Ooh, Sigil of Silence. Oh, man.
Demon Hunters get all the fun tools.
And half of them you have to talent into.
It's true I don't have chains, but I wish they had made that baseline. It'd be too good, though. If I can get a ranged interrupt on the Plaguebinder.
Yep.
Quickening's way too good to give it up for chains.
I agree.
Alright, so in this case, Purple Slime first. Purple Slime has a damage reduction aura. And there's literally no point trying to hit anything while he's alive.
That is true. We'll see that again on the boss fight. Like so many of the fights in WoW, like the trash teaches you the boss mechanic, basically. So he will now start jumping from platform to platform. So we have to be careful not to accidentally run into the boss. So I'll run around the back of these islands. In a bad week, like explosive or something like that, the best thing to do is to tag these two things and then line of sight them up the stairs here. That ensures everything comes to me. It also ensures that... Oh.
I lava burst and pull the mob. Yep.
That's alright.
I'm the best.
It also makes sure that we're not in a spot where we're accidentally going to pull the boss when he comes to that platform. Remember to watch the belch. So there are several advanced strategies for Dr. Ickis, but we're going to just do the very simple kill him, follow him to each platform. If there are oozes up or explosives up, they die before he does. So adds are priority, and if there's nothing up, we're back to Dr. Ickis, and we just follow him around the platform. There are some fancy strategies that will involve CCing an ooze and moving him away. We're not going to deal with that today.
Yep. Try will be responsible for the purple one until the exploding one is dead, though.
You'll have to watch when he does his little rocket pack jump. He lands and creates a cross of green acid energy, or necro green ooze. I don't know what type of damage it is. But you can tell how it's going to cross out because it'll be the direction that he's jumping to creates like the cardinal direction cross. So it'll be the 3 cardinal directions away from the direction he just landed from. You'll see it here in a second. It'll make more sense, I promise.
It's a cross pattern.
See it?
There you go.
And we kill the congealed slime, perfect, to prevent him from taking so much reduced damage. And then we just tunnel this guy. I realized I was moving into it to show you the pattern, which is probably not the best way to learn.
Yeah.
So as soon as that plague bomb is dead, everybody's on the congealed slime. And the reason we're doing that is because the congealed slime has the 75% DR to everything within like 10 yards. The advanced strategy would be to take the ooze all the way out to the middle of nowhere, and I wasn't tanking the boss, and murder the boss while that thing is helplessly CC'd.
Yeah.
Having a hard time talking and focusing.
Yeah, you're good, man.
If there's not a tank in melee, he just starts spam casting that ampule stuff.
Side note, at some point, the game did take away my cookies, at least.
Oh, weird. Mine is gone now as well.
Maybe it's on entering boss combat or something?
That is strange. This is another point of divergence from a lot of people. Our guild historically goes right, and I guess Andrew goes right. I prefer to go center here. So this is one of those places where if you're not sure how your tank's going to go, maybe you just wait for him. We're going to go straight through the ooze here, not left, not right, because we don't want those tentacles. I like this pack because everything's already half dead.
Yeah, that's fair. So are you. You are no longer.
It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but it's better percentage and everything's already half dead. Let's go over here and kill this pack. I forgot we were supposed to be over. I keep forgetting my own rules. We'll go back and get this pack too. Sorry, gang. I'm being too efficient.
Okay, there's a tentacle. Tentacle. Mr. Double Jump.
I honestly thought maybe I could kill that stuff before everybody got to me, but... And in fairness, I was pretty close. So if we can stun his Bulwark of Maldraxxus like that...
Yep. Is that a thunderstorm?
Yep.
Very good.
A grip also pulls him out of it.
Oh, hello. I forgot he was here.
So this guy will cast Stealthlings. What's going to happen is there'll be like a dozen little baby spiders that start casting ambush.
You'll see that purple effect? That's where they spawn. They're right here. They're all around me right here.
If this gets off, then someone's going to die because they will all jump to a person. There are a couple of ways to disrupt that. A Druid's Ursul's Vortex will shock them back into place. A stun stops that cast, and they apparently only cast it one time. Let's get this stuff over here.
They will start, if you don't kill them fast enough, they will cast it a second time.
Eventually. I think it's like on a 15-second lockout, though.
Yeah, you have to have a real bad pug group for that to happen.
But the idea is to basically DPS those little ambushlings down as quickly as we can. The other thing, there's an invisible guy here someplace. There he is. Once it starts to cast, if all hope is lost, you can anything that drops combat. So
follow the purple. They're right up here.
A Feign Death or Shadow Meld or Vanish will remove you from the potential table of targets that can be ambushed. So at the very least, there's a way for you to not be deaded by it.
So when you're in that bad pug group, got it.
Yeah.
Right.
And there is an ambusher in every single one of these packs. So, and they are the most dangerous target.
If you see that coming, you can Spirit Link to try and save somebody who's getting hit by it.
Yep. Good.
Not
kill.
only will it cushion some of that damage, but it'll also
good D&D.
They don't all hit simultaneously, and so the
Here
tick might happen between jumps.
Yep.
Okay, that's unpleasant.
And they all pick the same target.
I mean, the good news is it's only a 2, so you had plenty of hit points, but from a learning perspective...
Also have, like, half of them dead.
Right.
Yep.
Also, if you Earthquake on them, you can roll the dice on free knockdowns to interrupt them and get them out of sync.
That was exactly the dice rolling I was aiming for. It did not go well.
It's nice that I've played Shaman in both of these roles with this dungeon.
Nice. Domina Venomblade is our next boss. And we're just not really going to get a good place to skip here, guys. I apologize. We'll save our invis pots for the next dungeon.
That's fine.
She does a couple of things. The easiest way to remember this is to stay stacked. If you're ever caught alone, you're going to get feared and then web wrapped. So you can hear, if you play with game sound on, like a thumping heartbeat when you're in danger of being caught out alone. The mechanic gets a little dicey in that some person will be targeted with an effect that gives you a purple circle around you that you have to take it away from everybody else because you want to be the only person that gets hit by that. But then somebody should volunteer to go out and stand with that person so they don't get caught out alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The only other thing is that she will create little web puddles throughout the arena that hide brood assassins that will just keep throwing daggers at everybody all over the damn place, which we do not want to happen. I'm on a highly mobile tank, so I'm going to do my best to run around and break all of them, which has the added benefit of me having aggro on those things. But if you aren't with a mobile tank or you just want to help out, anything targeting that area of web will break them out of their web, make them visible, and I will taunt them or aggro them another way. So even like a flare, a capacitor totem, blizzard, any death and decay, any area-based ground effect will clear those guys up for me.
Just like how you would break a rogue out of stealth, any damage will do it. So generally what happens is melee will stay near the tank, and ranged will stay near each other. So I'm going to move to Carrot and save him. And then when you're good, Carrot, just go back in. Here they come. You can also CC them, so ground-targeted CC, cap totem, and they also do aggro on proximity now, which is nice. I got Carrot.
Oh, lame.
I didn't know that. Try those things aggro on proximity now, it seems, if you get close enough.
I feel like that's new. I feel like I've always had to do something like swipe or thrash to get them.
I don't know if other Zeph got it with like a Frost Nova or something.
If you're ever in here and you get that
Help.
debuff where you have
Help.
to stay
Evan.
out, you don't need someone to come save you necessarily. You can run in on your own and make it before you get the debuff that locks you out.
Yeah.
Saving them is nice because it like makes everyone's life a little easier, but if you're in a pinch, it is not strictly necessary to do it.
So come over here for a second. There is a speed clear version that skips a lot of the trash in the beginning, which will leave you very light on trash percentage at the end. There are some tanks that will come down here and pull these slimes up here. We're not going to do that, but you should know that they're here, and if someone says, we either need the slimes for buffs or we need the slimes for percent, this is where they're going, and these are the slimes they're talking about.
Yes.
Is Hairball one of the achievement cats in Maldraxxus?
He is. I do believe he's part of Margrave's achievement. So
There's an achievement to pet all the cats in Maldraxxus.
I didn't know that cat is goddamn adorable, even though he looks like a bucket of snot.
yeah. So these guys truck. They will generally always be on try. But
We do a tricky business here. A lot of tanks anyway will pull to the left, not ignoring this first Ichor Bileflesh pull, and get all of the other Devoteds down. He will teleport to those other Devoted spawn points, and these Devoted basically need to be kited. I will get threat on them and then run away. If for any reason you ever pull threat, you need to get rid of it quickly, or run away from them. They will one-shot you if they catch you. So try to spend as little time as possible in that green acid, because it is quite deadly.
yeah, so if you see that black skull-looking debuff, that means basically you lingered a little too long. In a low-level key, it's fine. In a high-level key, especially on Fortified, that Plague Dot will kill you. And the big gist is it also comes out of the center ooze puddle there, so be careful of that. Aw, me and Zell were perfectly in animation sync.
Yeah, I screwed up. Sorry.
Yeah, you just had to earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you're back in it though.
Has everybody done Margrave's Stradama at least once before? We've all seen the tentacles. True or false?
Yep.
Okay.
True.
There's always a pattern. It's always obvious, and you always are going to feel stupid when you get caught out by it. The advice that I think we all have lived by is move early. Don't wait for the last minute. Don't necessarily
Watch out,
trust movement cooldowns. Get moving quickly.
Zell, you're gonna...
The ads in this phase can mostly be ignored. A lot of cleave damage is going to be done to them. A lot of CC will be utilized by everybody to help keep them slowed and taken care of. The biggest thing that kills us here, well, is the tentacles. You get hit by the tentacle, it's game over. On a fortified week with a defensive up, you might make it, but on any tyrannical key, tentacle kills you. So you avoid that by never getting hit by the tentacle. The disease rain that's going to happen is bad news. That sucks for the healer. That's also where we'll probably use our healing potions. Sventies will use a healing cooldown for the first rain once it's capped out at stacks. We will use our healing potions for the second rain, the second time we see that phase, once it's hit its cap of stacks. When she's done with that cast, then you'll use the healing potion. Or if at any point in time you dip below that 50% health threshold, go ahead and pop that healing potion. Do your best to slow the ads, do your best to cleave the ads, but we're mostly just focusing on killing Margrave's Stradama and not getting punched in the face by a tentacle. Here we go.
Yeah. When she disappears, your priority is always moving to the safe spot. That ad is for try. If you are a melee DPS, you don't stand in the circle that he spawns. Find the safe spot first. There you go. Find the safe spots.
There are no ads. The ads don't exist.
So you'll see that purple circle that just spawned on the ground from that Malignant. That's only for the tank.
And it's tricky because it will always be where that first hole in those tentacles are, so it looks like a very appealing place to be. So if you can quickly get ahead of this first one, you're going to be in a good spot. But if you're not certain you're going to make it, don't risk it. Use a speed cooldown and run the right way.
Find the tentacles. I am in the safe spot.
I borked it.
Just a little bit. I do believe Blink will go a straight 180 over the hole. And you have about a second and a half of leeway of being in that middle puddle before the dot will apply to you. Find the safe spot. And she's dead.
Alright, so let's talk through what we did well. We had high DPS. We did great on the trash. We utilized those plague barrels to maximum effectiveness. What did we not do well?
I forgot to lust pretty much the whole instance.
That's true.
I also forgot to lust the entire instance.
Yeah, there will be two schools of thought, usually, regarding heroism. The first is that whoever is organizing your group, whoever the shot caller is, often the tank, but it doesn't have to be. Whoever is calling the shots will often want to manage those kinds of cooldowns, and will usually call for them, or at least tell you at the beginning, hey, we're going to be lusting on bosses 1 and 3. That way you have a rough idea of when that stuff's going to happen and what to expect. The other option that you see a lot is the person who brings the heroism will be kind of responsible for remembering when to use them. That's going to happen more in an organized group where which bosses are being lusted on is already kind of an established norm, and then it's kind of just on you to remember to do it. That's going to be something that you just, as the keeper of the heroism, will just have to ask each group that you're in, hey, do we know what bosses we're lusting on, or just tell me when you want it. It helps twofold because it, that communication that we're always talking about being so important will be clear for everyone, and it also creates, reasonable expectation, and it insulates you a little bit from that responsibility. If there's a person calling the shots, then you now empower them to tell you when to do it. That way, you're never really at fault. More valuable in a pug group than a guild group, but we have a Necrotic Wake 3, which is not a bad dungeon for a skip, so let's head there.
I will say real quick, if you are, as a heroism user, if you're ever not sure or you don't feel like chatting with other humans, you just kind of want to do your own thing in pugs and stuff, you're almost never going to go wrong just lusting if it's up when you pull a boss every time.
That's fair.
And don't even worry about, just get the bosses down quick because in a pug scenario, when you're coordinating, you definitely want to make sure you're using it at optimal times. But if you're working with the general public, there's not a lot of coordination, so you should just fire it off as quickly as possible, as often as possible.
General public?
We have 2 spots, so we need 2 pupils, and Fletcher just logged in. So we need 1 more.
If there's somebody in chat who is not in a group and would like to be, other group has a spot.
Yeah. We can grab Cole too, but I was hoping to get people who actually were interested in learning. All right. We'll grab you, Flectra.
Besides lusting, I need to be, because I don't have a control of lust, I need to be better about not standing in crap and realizing that I am slow.
Yeah.
I mean, you were good for all of it, Carrot, except that one time during the gauntlet, you got the double barrel. And that was unfortunate, but that's I kind of know immediately what happened. I don't know your thought process, but you saw the tank go ahead, and you saw the AoEs, and you thought you were good to start going forward.
Yeah, I misjudged. I don't think of going backwards as quickly as proceeding forward. I misjudged where I was in the pools. I'm also leery about that area because I almost always pull one of those extra tentacles. So I was definitely in a forward or back and don't go side to side.
That's fair.
If I would have used one of my defensive cooldowns, then I might have survived.
Yeah. The other way of doing it is you can also look at defensives. Like, not all of them work this way, but for example, AMS. It also cleanses you of magic when you use it, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Yeah. So even if you can't prevent its application, you could potentially just remove something afterwards. I am at the stone.
And I'll have to look. Actually, there might be a even more important takeaway. Give me just a second to look at the abilities. I wonder if anti-magic would mitigate the infectious rain.
It is a magic debuff. Well, it's a disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it still counts as magic damage. So realistically, if Carrot was to put AMS on right as she started infectious rain, it should prevent the application of the dot, as far as I'm aware, with how the skill works.
So that's my bad for not knowing Death Knights very well, but I suspect we could have used your raid-wide utility for one of those rain casts.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm not. I need to know or figure out what is a magic
Yeah.
or spell damage that AMZ is useful for, and then use it accordingly.
There's a general rule of thumb. If you notice this, depending on how you have your screen set up, I'm going to start summoning. I'm going to grab try here. If a damage number pops up on your character, like if it's on your character portrait, let's say you're playing with default Blizzard UI, if it's a white number, it's physical damage. If it's a yellow number, it's magic damage. That's more of just a trial and error thing. The thing after that is 9 times out of 10, if you're ever in a trash pack, summon Zell. I will now summon Zeph. Is unless you're in a coordinated group and you know, like you're in a high key, you're in a 10, it's Margrave Stradama. You've been told that your AMZ is coming down on the 3rd Infectious Rain. The healer's planning around it, he wants it there, the tank wants it there, it's expected. In that scenario, it's fine, but other than that, if it looks dicey, you can just use it. All else fails, it's better to use it than not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about developing that muscle memory and comfortability. Wowhead has got a great Mythic Plus section in all of their class guides that sort of outline each dungeon and where your class has utility and advantage. So, I hate to be the guy that just says go read a guide, but if you ever are unsure what is or isn't something that can be AMZ'd, or what is or isn't something that can be shadow melded, or what is or isn't purgeable, going to either your class Discord with a question like that or looking it up on Wowhead is probably the best way to get a surefire answer aside from trial and error.
Okay. I have a question for Zell here real quick. How comfortable are you with the shaman or with the learning thing in general? Are you looking for advice or are you pretty confident?
Honestly, I'm kind of just assuming that I'm going to be bad, and I'm trying to do my best. I've got like 3 different guides up.
Okay, that's fair.
But I will happily take advice.
How
just
often?
No, fully.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
How often are you using Spirit Walker's Grace? Like, do you have that button? What's your use for it?
It's definitely on my bar.
Okay.
I think I pressed it once back in Mist of Pandaria.
Okay. If all else fails, and a good example is that first boss back in Plaguefall, after you get stomped, you can either activate it right before the stomp and start casting, or as you are running back to the boss to make sure you're easy to get out of Plague Wave. It's perfect for that because it lets you move and cast, and that's its intended use, right? It's what it says. It is what it says on the tin.
All right, guys, we're gonna start this up. There's a weapon. There are weapons throughout this dungeon that we can use. Give you an extra action button. They do a ton of extra damage. They stun. They sometimes create a protective shield. What we're going to do on this first pull, that only works with monks, priests, and demon hunters, is we're going to CC this guy over here, so don't pull anything right off the bat. So you need a CC that doesn't put you into combat. Like that. And then you
now there's a hammer right
grab
here.
this hammer.
Yeah. And the hammers are, well, the weapons are for good DPS or getting around shitty mechanics.
God, not for me.
Anyone can pick them up. Anyone can pick them up. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, they'll just do a ton of damage and stun some stuff, so this is a fine, like, for my biggest obstacle in this dungeon in the first, third of it is that named caster pack that everybody hates. Using weapons on her is actually a really fine idea.
For these guys, the Corpse Harvester has Drain Fluids. That's one of the most important things to get. It will channel on a target and CC them for the entire time it's happening, which is what's happening on Zell right now with that guy in the back who came out of the CC.
I think it's because you hexed him.
Sorry. Well, I thought Imprison would reduce his aggro range. I'm sorry.
We're good. Do we have anybody who is a Kyrian? Are we literally just like 5 Night Fae? Oh no, I'm Kyrian. Ha!
Yeah.
I'm a Vinther.
Yes.
So
Try
guys,
is going to give us.
I was gonna say if you're not carrying John, you're wrong.
I mean, he could be Venthyr. Could be.
Nah.
He could just be playing what he likes as well.
That's true.
Because
That's
fuck meta.
That's not what John does.
The sigil that you get here is just too good. So somebody come and pick up this bloody javelin here. This will give you an extra action button.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just pull these
Got
while
the
they're
bloody
here.
javelin.
Yes. The spear will not stun, but it will give you a miniature damage buff window on the target you use it on. So it's particularly good on bosses and dangerous solo enemies. I'll get the square. I'll drop Cap Totem here. Chain Harvest. Oh. Let's instantly heal the whole group and damage the entire enemy back. Stop that. That was wrong. I'm sorry, Zell. I failed my interrupt.
So did I. I interrupted Meat Shield on accident instead of the shit I meant to.
I mean, Meat Shield's still a good interrupt.
It is.
You're effectively stopping it from healing.
So the Kyrian mechanic in this dungeon is these malfunctioning Goliaths can be reactivated using this button. I guess we'll just do it now. It'll create 5 little orbs. Everybody walks through an orb and you get a 60-second buff.
Yep.
With
Yes.
Blightbone, kill the ads, kill the ads, kill the ads.
Yeah. If you
With that ball buff, we're supposed to stack up, right?
Yes, the orb is an aura around you. It makes you pulse damage and healing. If you have the cleave, you should just stand still. When these come up, you kill them. They can be stunned, they can be CC'd, and then they drop that puddle when they die.
Follow me.
So he'll also drop one, and then we just move back to the boss. Because you're also healing everyone when you're stacked up. So these orbs, I think, depending on the level of the key, will easily do about 10 to 15% of the boss's life just in the damage they do. When all 5 people are stacked on the boss. It's just a little jump.
Sorry, I kind of took it upon myself to pop here there. I hate that boss.
No, that's fine. That's good.
He must die.
I really hate that boss.
I mean, you followed the basic rule. It was a boss fight. No one had said to specify heroism, so you used it.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Get into min-maxing cooldown usage per dungeons later, but that's a good start. Oh my god, try.
It at least gets you in the habit of thinking about it every fight.
Oh, and now you're out of knife sight. Ah!
Sorry. I have cooldowns back now.
Hey, Zell, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or Zeph, sorry. No, first Zeph, not other. Zephyr.
Yeah, so what is
the
it?
other Resto Shaman. What are your go-to healing conduits for Resto?
The one that causes your healing stream totem to buff your next 3 single target heals
Yes. Okay.
is number 1 S tier, S plus tier.
Okay, good.
3 tiers above everything else.
Good. Then I chose the right one. Okay.
And nothing else matters. Like all your other ones are garbage.
I was looking at the Healing Tide one, which seemed okay. After you use Healing Tide, your healing rain is twice as effective.
If you're really accurate and can get people to stay in your healing range,
Yeah,
like
fair.
I only have one potency totem.
So Carrot
conduit.
has 9 seconds left on that. I'm going to dispel him now, and it went to Zell. Okay.
Line of
So
sight.
there is a debuff. Yep. You guys, as a non-healer, you don't particularly have to worry about it, but there's a debuff on those necromancers that when it's cleansed will jump to a new person with its same time limit, but it'll reset its damage. If you have it, you can potentially cleanse it off yourself. It is a curse, I do believe, if you can decurse. But just be careful about that, because if it's going to kill you, get rid of it. But the person who it's going to go to might not be, the healer might not be ready for it, so.
The necromancer that's marked as a skull is our primary kill. When he dies, all of his summoned minions go away with him. So while there is cleave damage to be had here, it's largely irrelevant.
Yeah. If you can funnel, that works, but just worry about killing him. And now Try is going to grab the OP orb. So OP that there's only 2 in the entire dungeon.
This discharged anima will create an area that basically arcane torrents 8 times in a row. So it is highly disruptive to casters, and we're going to use that on the named caster pack to bring everything into melee with me.
Yeah. Also, blight bags, ranged, if you can move away from them, it helps. They explode on death. It's not a big deal. At low, it even hit me over there, so I don't think it's actually avoidable now that I think about it.
We've got a chance for double interrupts. I'll watch the sorcerer, if somebody can watch the bone mender's bone mend, and the skeletal marauder also has a fear. So we've got 2 totems. Zell, why don't you get the first totem?
On what am I toteming?
You'll want to drop
fear.
Tremor Totem when you see Rasping Scream.
Got it.
And I will watch the Bone Mender for interrupts. Like that one.
Why is this
Sorry,
guy
I
interrupting
interrupted that on the Bone Mender.
Give me a try. Get a friend.
Yeah, that's weird. Nothing had threat at all. I've had to taunt all 3 things.
Mobs are becoming self-aware. Ignore the tank!
Right?
Oh, I'll drop Tremor.
Sorry, I interrupted because I panicked.
Yep, that's fine.
I also interrupted.
Hey.
Because someone interrupted when I dropped Tremor.
Nice. And now it's the
okay.
great. So we're going to go back and get the other anima buff from this guy over here.
There are 3 of these golems for the entire dungeon, right, Try?
I believe that's true. If there's more, I don't know about it.
So you're saying we want to use the weapons on this named person, and
I think that's fine, especially on a fortified week. On a bad tyrannical week, there's an argument to save at least 1 for a Marth, but this is our stumbling block initially here.
Yes.
So Narzuda is a pain in the ass. Here we go.
Yeah, so Try's going to activate his orb. He's going to get basically all of these interrupts. Your job is to just burst these guys down. Use your weapons, because the hammer will ignore mobs that I do believe are immune to stuns? Question mark? I'm not certain about that, actually.
I think it just does damage but doesn't stun.
Okay. Alright. There is another hammer and another spear here, 1 on each side. There is a little cool thing you can do. You can't pick up multiples of the same weapon, but you can hold up to 1 of every weapon. So 1 player could hold a spear, a shield, and a hammer, if you ever get that opportunity.
There's a fear that needs to be interrupted. I will watch interrupt on Skull. Carrot, why don't you watch interrupt on X? They both have a frontal cleave, so I'm going to put my back to the railing here on the other side. Don't be in front of them.
Yep. Gruesome.
Sorry, Try. I got button happy.
It happens. So if we go this way and hug the right here, actually we're going to pull this dude.
Okay.
He's got a run away from him, blue swirly. and a ton of damage on the tank.
Yep.
One of those I can help.
If you can get out of that, you can avoid the damage. However, it's not particularly dangerous on this level of frigid spikes. Sorry, that should have been Try's call. Sorry, feet.
About saying. Should have watched my feet there.
Yeah.
There's a shield here. I wouldn't pick it up right away because it'll become your top button, and we only want to use it if we're going to get a bad Land of the Dead on Amarth. So if someone doesn't have a weapon and is only comfortable using it in a oops, we've made a mistake moment, that's what that's for.
Yeah. And the weapons, as long as you don't die, the weapons will persist for the entire dungeon. So that's the one risk to picking them all up as one person, if you can hold multiples.
So,
okay.
I think we talked about it last week as a introductory skill, but it bears a reminding here. If you are going to single target and not AoE on a trash pull like that, make sure you're focusing the tank.
There is a hammer here. I will grab this one, since everyone ran past it.
There's often this tendency or a frustration within the tank community that players will each focus a different single target mob and just drill down on it. It's hard to establish, especially initially, that much threat on 3 different targets that are being single targeted. So when in doubt, if you just have me or whoever the tank is as your focus, you can see what target I'm attacking on the pull. If you have like a big single target opener, that's who that should be on.
There's a spear here for one of the DPS. If you do not already have a spear, feel free to grab this one. The spear's secondary effect does work on bosses, so just be aware of that. God. Why are you dying?
He hurts me.
I mean, I was using like 2 buffed healing surges there, and I'm like, wait, his health isn't moving. What the hell?
Alright, what I want to do is...
Cry.
A little bit. Let's go back and... This is very unusual, but we're going to kill this pack here. Again, it's just the Necromancer, so all we're killing is the Necromancer. We're going to get the buff, and then we're going to use our Invis pots to skip that pull on the stairs.
Are we still going to use the pillar? Are we just skipping the second Necromancer, or...?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything on the stairs on the way up will skip. So we'll have like 30 seconds or so of this buff left for Amarth.
Yep. Do remember, though, that this buff gives you an aura, so you'll have to be careful where you stand. So go ahead, everyone can go ahead and mount up, and then we'll use our invis pots when we get to a special point, because you can pick up the orbs while mounted.
Remember, once you are invisible, you cannot use any ability. Activating a speed cooldown, a self-heal, a defensive, anything will take you out of that stealth. So if you're going to use a speed-enhancing ability, do it first.
So run up this rock, over the pillar, and you can dismount here. Try, what's the pathing for this?
I like to go right up the... Or I'll put a marker down. When I'm a kitty cat, I can go over this railing very easily. If you are unsure, you have 19 seconds. You can run, all the way around this way, around the outside, to get up those stairs. But the goal is to get up the stairs unseen. So I'm going to go blue square, but everybody can take their own journey.
All right.
3,
and
2, 1, go.
Potions. Interested to see how this is going to work with the damage aura. It hit the skeleton, but it did not pull the person out of invisibility. The skeleton instantly re-healed. Okay.
Cool. Do we know this boss fight, or should we go over it?
I know it.
Okay. we're just going to kill all
Pull
the
mages
ads.
in.
There's an advanced strategy that if you hard CC the ads, they don't count towards being the Land of the Dead consumed. But
Yep.
we'll just
if you
kill
have
them all.
spears, you can use them here. This is a good opportunity to do so. Because they open up a damage window on the boss for you, and they do like 30k damage when you hit them with it.
Look at that damage.
On every Land of the Dead, Amarth will summon 1 crossbowman, 2 mages, and I think 2 warriors. The mages are the most important things. Watch the breath. It's gonna spin. Death Knight grips, silences, ranged interrupts, hard CC, stuns, they all work. Frostbolt, it's kind of annoying. Frostbolt volley is really dangerous.
Mm-hmm. That is the must interrupt there.
Yeah. Even if it's punching you, even if you end up just going over to it, you interrupt it, and you're just tanking it, that's fine. They don't do a lot of melee damage, even on Tyrannical. Like Frostbolt volley will this kills the party.
So I like to go this way right out of the gate. There is a patrol of like wandering spare hands. Do not pull that without like on accident, I guess. If it's on purpose and we know it's coming, that's one thing, but we don't want to accidentally back into it.
No. Good job, Zell. When you're targeted with Throw Cleaver, like I just did, you can aim the cleavers at other mobs. I don't know if it does the damage to them, but it will stop you from taking damage from Throw Cleaver.
It hurts them.
Okay, perfect.
The double cleaver pack just before the boss is awesome because you can cross the streams and they'll each stab each other.
Unless you're targeted with both, and then you just kind of cry.
Yeah.
You stand in the middle and you accept your fate. For these guys, Gore Splatter is some AoE damage to the whole group. Drain Fluids is the same as you've seen before. Oh, hello. Dropping cap. Oh my god. Sir, were you stunned?
I don't know what that was. I couldn't get any rage at all.
Okay, this is Joey. Watch the stun circle. Alright, that was your free revive, so let's go ahead and do this.
I am gonna start running away now.
I'm in Ascendance, you're fine at the moment.
Okay.
You're now out of my range. Okay.
I just have nothing left.
That's fair. Tide. Okay, yep. Just keep hitting him, Carrot. I'm healing you. Just keep hitting him. Okay, never mind.
I was running away the whole time, so...
No, I know. Good thunderstorm. Okay, you. Back. Zeph, just tank him. I'm healing you. Just fight that man. You can all release and run back, by the way.
Am I gonna get up here just in time?
You shouldn't have released because you had to use a stealth pot to get here.
Yeah.
Didn't this put us at?
No, it releases
does it?
at the last boss, right at the bottom.
Yeah, we're at a Marth.
So when I went down, Carrot, I didn't call for it, but your first instinct should always be to battle res the tank.
Gotcha.
It's not always going to save a pull, and it's not guaranteed, especially when I pulled a double pack on a fortified week, going to help, but it's always worth, I think, a charge, especially when we have 3 to try to salvage that pull. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make in a Mythic Plus, especially when you start getting stressed out about like really walking the clock and counting seconds, is releasing too soon. In that instance, Sventis is right, and you could just run back when it became obvious that it had stabilized, but like a lot of times somebody's working on a battle res or just needs to generate some resource to get the battle res out, or maybe you're about to spawn Prideful and they're going to battle res you, or maybe they're about to kill the Prideful, and if you're not there, you're not going to get that buff. So I feel like there's that, you're kicking yourself because you died and you just immediately res and run back out of like stress and frustration. I think you want to avoid that reaction.
Yep. We're good to... We're ready, Drive. You are.
Drain fluids is going off. And this is just notoriously the worst pull in this dungeon.
This one right here?
This whole trash
or
pack.
like this room?
It's the mutilate is unavoidable by tanks. So on high fortified keys, you literally have to have an off-tank swap. They'll use either a pet or a plate wearer with some huge damage reduction cooldown to taunt for the subsequent mutilates. Because I'm at 4, and I imagine you're already having a hard time healing me.
Yeah, actually you were.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, I miss his bear.
Yeah, physical damage taken increased by 12% per stack. And you can imagine that on a high key, they'll live long enough to see 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 stacks sometimes.
Yep. These guys auto or aggro automatically. There's nothing you can do to stop that, so you just be ready when these guys spawn.
And they do
Morbid fixation.
I was actually about to...
So, Carrot, you might be able to grab when he fixates Zeph like that. If you can grip him back, it gives Zeph a little bit of breathing room.
Gotcha. I tried to stun, but he's immune.
Yeah, the fixate makes him immune. I'm not even sure that you can grab him. It was more a, we should try that next time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I was worried that it wasn't possible. No worries. Thanks for trying.
You might be able to slow him down.
Yes, completely CC immune. Actually, I think the hammers might work. If you still have a hammer, it might work on him.
It will not work on the boss, though, so if we fail to hook the boss when he's downstairs, we will get that fixate. If we can hook the boss while he's down, no fixate.
Yeah. So, also with these packs, you'll notice they don't spawn all perfectly in sync. In this one, the little guys become active first, so be aware of that. And for this pack specifically, the biggest priority is Gore Grind. The little guys will just cleave down. The A-bombs are always the big target here.
That Tenderize just destroys me with... yeah. It's real bad. And I'm going away now.
Oh, this can move! I forgot you can move with this.
I tried to freeze him to give you a second more there.
I appreciate it.
But I cannot freeze him.
No,
Yep.
he
Big
will
guys-
always be immune, but any hit I'm not taking there is helpful. When I bail like that, it's because I'm out of defensive cooldowns, so I need a minute for my healer to get caught up, and just, 10 seconds for my stuff to come back off of cooldown. So anything you can give me breathing room-wise is hugely welcome.
Yep. Same with this pack, focus on Rot Spew. Rot Spew has a damage aura around him, and it persists on his corpse, so we tried to kill him away from the main area of the room.
Try.
You're so clever.
Thanks. If you have a hard time moving him, you can line of sight him like I just did there, and it will force him to stop his cast to try to come and find me. And anywhere around here is a good place to drop him.
Well, that is particularly useful. Okay.
So everybody
And now
understands
this-
how the hook works, yes?
Yes.
Awesome.
If you do see embalming ichor on yourself, you can try and get out of the arena or drop it on the edge. It's on Carrot. Carrot didn't have a choice and had to get dropped there. Wait.
Damn. So that's an
Whoops.
important safety tip, yeah. When he's about to cast that hook and we kill him, we get no boss.
Yeah. You if the guy hits 20% HP, you stop hitting him. Now you can kill him, but we're also going to hero. I have the boss. And your target is Stitch Flesh. You finish him off. There's the fixation on Zell.
He's going to run away in a few seconds here. When his health isn't quite so small compared to the damage we're doing, there's also a chance that the existing Stitch Flesh's creation is still down here, and while Stitch Flesh himself, the surgeon, is also down, he will start to cast hook on somebody. There is often a window of time where he will escape just in time for that hook to be cast, so even though Surgeon Stitchflesh is still down, line that hook up with the center point of the stage where you already know he's going to be, and we can get him right back down for another phase 2.
Yep. I've seen it like once, so. Yeah. And this boss isn't a big matter.
Yep. We're going to... DPS goes down, runs the gauntlet, not standing and stuff, kills their guy, clicks on the angel to come back up. If you can drop your puddle of goo in blue or green, you're going to shit out a little frost bomb when you come back up after a few seconds. So I put those 2 markers down. I'm going to tank him in one of these back corners so we've got the most amount of room possible. If you get frozen in place and you can clear yourself, please wait for everyone to be out of your circle. It seems like everybody who can self-clear now detonates that. We've had freedom of movement. While it does free you, it also detonates it, so I know there are several people who can fix it. Same rules as Sventi's cleansing it. Don't do it if you're not sure.
Yeah. And ranged can spread out evenly among the platform. It basically makes it so that when you're doing the cleansing, if you can self-cleanse, you can just insta-thing like this. I can just instantly get Zeph out because no one else is near him. And then Comet Storm, you don't mess around with. You see those, you just start moving. Don't greed this mechanic. Melee, you can run in a circle around the boss to keep uptime, but you don't mess with Comet Storm.
The pattern that it does, you can really just run a tight little button hook, and you'll never run back over yourself. It's like the old apple worm-eating guy. Just don't ever bite yourself, but it's pretty hard to do that. They detonate very quickly. You can just basically 3 circles is all you're ever going to need to dodge.
Yeah. Like, Zell, this is one of those good opportunities that if you're in the middle of a major cooldown window and that happens, that's a time for Spirit Walkers on this guy particularly. Oh, it's on Carrot. I'm going to wait for Try to get out. And Carrot's good. Unless you do what I just did and turn away from the boss and automatically cancel your cast like a moron. He's dead.
Nice. Oh man,
These guys die so quick.
Yeah, that's the fun part about Fortified Weeks is you find trouble in trash that you didn't know existed. You learn some new trash mechanics, and then you go, "Why was this boss hard last week? I don't understand."
Yes.
And
Mythic Plus has a way of teaching you everything that you didn't have to pay attention to up until now.
how did Carrot and Zell get into the raid last week if they're only just now ready for it?
Oh,
I haven't rated on this character.
Alright. It has become Mists of Tyrannosaith, which is a great dungeon for our first foray into Spiteful.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
Oh, you'll be
I
fine.
almost heard what you said. What did it turn into?
Mists.
Well, I hear if we get Or that's just Mythic Zeros. I was gonna say, if we get gun shoes with the Viz pods, you can skip half that dungeon.
Now that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, except you need percent.
Yeah. Try how do you feel about clearing the entire area around Tredova for triple pridefuls?
Yeah. I do love and hate the maze math. We ran it last week and actually got really, really good where we needed one of the acid maws at the end, and that was it. And then just yesterday, the day before, we ran one, and we're at 92% at Tredova, which is basically the entire acid maw pack plus the entire horned beetle pack.
Yep.
So let's head to Miss. While we're flying, what we did well in that dungeon, we did a good invis skip. We way over pull percentage, but that was on purpose. We utilized the weapons, I think, to full effectiveness. We didn't die with anybody holding multiple weapons. We didn't find a great home for the shield ever, but we were never also in any danger, so that felt pretty good. Again, high DPS. You guys are killing it. What didn't we do well?
Well, there was that time where we all died.
I needed to kite more effectively, and I need to have a lot more respect for fortified bosses. There's that disconnect between overgeared tank and undergeared tank. When I'm out of CDs, I just need to bail. That was my fault entirely.
I'm now not using my mirrored images hardly at all. And I think in a hierarchy it'll matter just to help reduce the amount of healing that needs to be done. But now I'm in mode of that's stupid to cast your mirrors, and so now I've just started never using them unless Tri thinks for me and tells me to pop a defense.
Wait, are you talking about mirror images, or is mirror images not a DPS cooldown?
No, it's a defensive. It's 20% DR and threat deferral.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So another way you can use it, there's if you feel like you're not getting enough uptime on it, is whenever we do a big pack that's got 4 or 5 things in it, if you just use mirror images as your first spell, then you can go ham on your AoE rotation and you have no worries about pulling threat ever. Yeah, the 20% DR is awesome and it's a great cooldown. But if you don't see, as you become familiar with the dungeons, if in the next 5 minutes there's nothing really that's going to pulse raid-wide damage, if we're going into Halls of Atonement, that the Shards of Halkias have that pulse, so you'll probably want to save mirror images for that pull. But going into Mists, in the first 5 minutes, is there anything shy of those 2 bow breakers that are going to pulse damage? Not really. So maybe on that first pull, you just use them there, so that way you can just go balls to the wall, pop a pot, do a ton of damage, and have no worries that you're ever going to rip threat off me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's especially useful for fire mages when they're doing their giant, ignite pyro 10-second window. I think a frost mage is going to be less bursty, but that's at least a good use for it. If you feel like getting marginal use out of it is better than getting no use out of it. If it's just sitting on cooldown for 12 minutes, then you're right. You should probably find somewhere to use it. How is everybody else feeling about their DPS cooldown usage? Are we remembering, so this is, last week we talked a little bit about how you should basically be using your cooldowns almost always as soon as they're up, with last week being one of those weird, okay, with tyrannical bosses, maybe if we're coming up to a boss, we start pooling our resources. But with this week being fortified, basically Icy Veins should be cast every 3 minutes. Army of the Dead should be up every time we're going into a pack, on the 10-minute mark. Are you guys comfortable with that? Do you feel like you're executing on that plan, or are you like me where you're still not really using your cooldowns often enough?
I definitely remember most of my cooldowns that are less than a minute.
That's good.
And then the ones that are a minute and a half and up, those are the ones that I want to save for the final boss of WoW.
Yep. So it's time to break that habit a little bit, and especially in keys, especially fortified keys, every pack is the last boss. So basically just get in the habit of using them on the very first pull, and then basically every time they're up, you use them again.
One tricky part of this that I'm still trying to learn is a bunch of these are precast, and I don't have a good sense of when the fight is going to start.
Well, I mean, if it's trash, it's just before I jump in, right?
Yes. I think part of it is because a lot of times there's an explanation or a conversation before a pull,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm like, I don't know when the conversation ends and the murdering starts.
That's fair.
So I think that is a situation-specific problem.
So, do we have any Night Fae?
Sure do.
All right. Once we put in the key, you'll click the overgrown roots. We're going to take a path that sort of winds down to the right once we get past this root wall. If you observe these spite claws, we'll be pulling a pack of 5 of them, or 6, maybe it's 6. But they each have a dispellable, purgeable magic debuff that makes them explode when we kill them. If all 6 of them have that debuff, melee will die. I maybe will die. The best thing to use, obviously, is a Priest's Mass Dispel, but since we have 3 purges, excuse me, we should try to get those off those guys as quickly as possible. And from there, we'll go into the next Tiernan Villager pack. Just basically don't ever be in front of the Villager. And we'll talk through the rest as we get there.
I should not have looked at the DPS charts. What was I thinking?
It's been bouncing all over the place. I wouldn't sweat it.
That last pull was not indicative.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where's my thing? Where's his moon? There you go.
Nope. Thank you, Zoe. Alright, once these guys are grouped up here, these are the pack I was talking to you about. Purge whatever you can.
So these guys are very similar to the guys that pop up at the end of Waycrest. If you remember last expansion, they have a leap and they do a little damage around them.
Oh, I missed Waycrest.
So, here's the surprise of Spiteful. I wanted everyone to get
No, sir.
an appreciation for it. Every mob that we kill in a key 4 or higher this week will spawn a Spiteful mob. The Spiteful mobs will fixate a player and will run at you, bleeding 8% of its health per second until it's dead. Then it will despawn and go away. The most effective way to handle this affix is to ignore them, run away from them, kite them, slow them, stun them, ignore them, because they, in very short order will kill themselves. There are 2 exceptions. If we're in really tight quarters, then everybody should help DPS down. But I think mostly the safest bet is to ignore them, especially if you've got good CC or good slows. Something like a Frost Nova is invaluable here once they start spawning. You saw how they all look like those kind of shadowy, coiling black, ghost forms. The one that's fixated on you will have a slightly red aura around it to help you visually distinguish which one's coming for you versus all of them that are walking towards your friends. If you have just a single target stun, it's probably in your best interest to stun the one that's coming after you. It's toughest on melee, I'm not going to lie. Carrot, this week kind of sucks for you because you will get punched at least once, and on high fortified keys, those Spiteful spirits will just kill you. You have to be on your toes with a defensive or with some form of slow them down and move. Ranged, at least get a 2 or 3 second head start of, oh shit, that spawned a Spiteful. Oh, it's kiting to me. You get, as soon as it's dead, if it's rolled on you, you're going to have a bad time. So you got to be very attentive. Here we go.
Zell, you can use your Thunderbolt, what's it called, to knock them back. So when I'm in 4 and up keys, DPSing, I will put that somewhere closer to where...
If you have Overgrowth, the best thing you can do is move into the group. It's going to stun you. And unless I can burst you out of this... Nope, you're now gonna... You're in jail. You stay in jail.
Spitefuls, here they come. And remember that the hard part is not kiting them into other stuff we haven't pulled yet. So it's run, but at the same time, don't run.
Yeah. So for these guys in particular, the Harvesters are the most dangerous mob, but if you can kill the Tiernans, they won't overgrowth, and they give us this really nice trank when they die. Die, air quotes, when they hit 20%.
So I think we should be able to skip this by walking into this alcove here. Let me know if anybody's in combat.
Is everyone good? Alright.
Oh, we're now in
Oh, we're in combat.
You guys, I'm in combat.
It's alright.
Okay, why did that happen, though? Did someone do something? Did someone stand there, or...?
Oh, God.
I feel like it may have been my pet.
Why did we get that stuff?
Because the imprison broke somehow, or got close enough that aggroed the rest of the pack, and then it pulled them.
I have been having trouble with it a lot last week. Even with the Monk Paralysis and Ring of Peace push, we were still having issues where, like, after Ring of Peace, or after Paralysis expired, they were still coming to find us. So we're going to try one more time and see and make sure that somebody wasn't just standing too close or took the turn too wide or had a pet out.
Oh! Nope, die. Zell, die. They're just going to keep chasing us. They're going for death?
Yeah, I have this happen to me randomly where after I die and release, somehow they just come and truck and find me.
That's the only reason that should happen is the game has somehow registered a debuff on them that you've applied that caused
Safe to
aggro.
release.
Yeah, you're good there, reset.
We're good.
Also, competitive WoW subreddit was still reporting that the Mage's Invis was still bugging. We experienced it a couple of times where it was only working like a fade and not actually a clear.
Yeah. I've given up on it for the moment. I just die whenever we have problems, so I don't hold this up.
Okay, everybody else tuck in. Dismount. That way any mistake you make is not exaggerated by the speed of a mount. So we seem good.
Cliff, just keep going. Just don't stop.
I did, however, pop invis right there. To make sure I didn't fuck up.
Alright, we're good. Alright, you focus on the Harvesters. Harvest Essence is the most dangerous thing in here. It hits everyone, and it heals them.
Spitefuls are spawning. Watch yourselves. So you can use the skip over here to get mushrooms. Beautiful, lovely mushrooms.
Heck of a trip. I don't remember which ones are the...
Tough shrooms are stamina, savories are main stat, and the hydras, which I'm not seeing anymore,
Yeah.
Are for the achievement.
I don't think they spawn in M+.
Oh, there you go.
The bow breakers will do a large unavoidable AoE channel once they hit 50%. So we don't want to push both of them to 50% on a fortified week. So let's focus on the blue square, get him or skull, whatever, to 50% first, and then the unmarked. This is a good place for personal defensive cooldown. We were talking about mirror images here, also healing potions.
Yeah. The cast that you're looking for is called Furious Thrashing. You will see it when it happens. And they will always start it at right around 50%.
Here it comes.
Also, another thing is if you see like a healing rain or an efflorescence or something down on the ground, it's always in your best interest to stand in it.
It's more of that healer problem.
Listen, you.
Good job rooting that Spiteful.
Hey, we got one more.
Another Spiteful coming out. This is one of those examples where it's fine to just kill
You
it
can't-
fast so we can go right into boss.
You can't fucking kill me! See? Totally fine.
everybody starts on Droman. And this is a good boss to hero.
Yes. Zell, this is one of those bosses where funneling is really good for you. Even if you can keep Flame Shock on both targets, you'll get a ton more resets. Okay, that was... Where the hell was my DBM call out for that? What the fuck? And now he's stunned. Pop off.
I did maybe misspeak when I said this is a good boss for heroism. You want to do it only after we get Droman down to 20%, because he'll take... put a 300% damage taken increase on Ingram Moloch. It's fine on a lower key like this, because we still
we can
have
kill the
heroism
boss
for all of it, but...
There you go.
Yahoo.
Google.
Alright, so cool little trick for this maze. Mistcaller is the next boss we fight. She spawns, starts out right there. Night Fae will activate. If you mark Mistcaller here, you can follow the mark and kind of look over the gates to see the first 2 gates to walk through automatically. So it's center, and then it looks like it's the left portal. So Mistcaller will give you your little your path immediately, and then from there you have to figure it out.
I normally prefer to do it myself, but Andrew made a very compelling argument for the Mist's weak aura, which I have installed now. It does save time, and it helps hopefully eliminate mistakes. Spiteful ads, these keep you in combat, so we cannot go through until the spiteful ads are dead. So here in the maze, it's probably a good idea to just kill them. Obviously, if it's fixated on you, you run away from yours, but everybody else should just be killing those things.
Ranged DPS, a good habit to get into is if you're not in danger and you're still in range, you can go stand on one of the marks, and it will show the symbol to the rest of the group. Try if you want to talk about more of the trash. So we got a full leaf, empty flower ring, and then full flower ring.
So we're going to the door with no circle. That's over here.
That's very odd. Okay.
So
what does the weak aura do, please?
It's if you look at my screen, or if you watch this, actually maybe we'll just share afterwards. It gives you a matrix of all of the possible solutions, and you click which ones are currently active. It only needs to see 3 of the 4 to eliminate the choices, and then it will tell you which point of commonality is the deciding factor. So kill these shades, run away from the one that's challenging you.
So you said no circle try, so it should be this full leaf over here?
Yeah. Which is weird, because I don't feel like that's where she went, but...
Yeah, that's... She went left, which is very awkward. So for talking trash, tenders have a heal, regrowth. I think it's called Nourish the Forest they put over people. Yep. The big guys just have a frontal cone. I don't know if that tracks the tank. Okay, so we got a full flower, we got an empty leaf with a circle, we got a full leaf.
It's the one with the circle.
Okay. Also try, I don't even think this is your Demon Hunter. I think just, I'm so used to healing Tyrannical from last week, I'm just like, trash doesn't need to be healed.
Who even does trash?
So, circle. Yep. Empty flower.
Bitch, we didn't guess. We used to cheat.
Right? We're way smarter than you.
Left, right.
Yeah. Tenders are generally the priority in these packs, unless you see, I think it's the butterfly mob. I think that's the most dangerous one, as long as you're watching for interrupts. So we got a empty flower, Bramblethorn Coat. That's the big one. That is a Thorns effect that will root you when you hit that target. So if you can, good thing is to look for cleanses or purges. That's mainly for demon hunters and shamans.
Help me.
Try, do you mind? You're taking an awful lot of damage right now. It's really inconvenient to my millennial lifestyle.
We're looking for the one that's filled.
I have a weak. Sorry.
Is it filled?
Mm-hmm.
It should be this one on me, try. Let's check and find out. Yahtzee! Oh, and we got trash. Okay. Stalker.
I've been called worse.
And I'm gonna drop a cap totem.
I have a weak aura that calls out all sorts of helpful stuff in these dungeons, and it is just absolutely going insane right now.
Yep.
Yep.
Dot.
Circle
Look,
is the solution.
Spread.
Avoid.
So circle should be the one behind try. Yes. And the final tip for the maze is that there is only ever 5 rooms. The 6th room will always be the boss. So at this point, I think this is room number 5, right? Because at this point you should be able to look at your map, and you should be able to just see the path that leads to the boss room, and that's the one it has to be.
I am rooted.
Okay. Okay, we're just gonna cheat here for a minute.
Ah!
Okay, so it is the Shapers that do Bramblethorn Coat. So the Shapers are the targets for interrupts. Nourish the Forest is a regen that it puts on a target.
I stole it.
Nice! Yeah, so like Try's Weak Aura said, it says empty, and that's the one that leads to the boss room. So. You wanna know my problem with Spiteful Try? They eat my mana shield.
They do.
I don't want them to do that.
So Mistcaller will do Patty Cake, which I interrupt. It will do Flash Freeze, which spawns that little Vulpin near you. If it catches you, it freezes you. That's only especially dangerous in melee because it will sometimes also get me in its little 4-yard freeze range. The best thing to do is to CC it again. So if we have Earth Grab, if we have Frost Nova, if we have any kind of long-lasting CC, do that. If that's not possible, then gripping it in and killing it is probably just fine. Unless it's fixating on you, Carrot, obviously. And then Mistcaller does Dodgeball. Don't stand in the lines, that's obvious. And then she'll do a Guess Who phase where we have to find which one of her is the real one using the same rules as before. I would like one of you to volunteer to make those calls. There's no judgment.
Does that include me?
No, I'd like somebody who's less familiar with it.
Okay.
Zell, Carrot, or Zeph. No judgment. We'll do it all day. We'll kill all 4 each phase if we have to. But I'd like you to get some comfortability with seeing which one is different and being vocal about it.
I am fairly comfortable. I'm happy to pass that on.
Carrot rolled the highest, so Carrot will be doing it.
That sounds
Go
right.
Carrot! You go, buddy.
Yep.
Backfired.
One thing I will say, I think be very careful about using grip on freeze tag dodgeball. This targets everyone. Freeze tag, I think, explodes on contact with a player, so maybe, I don't know though.
I think only
could be
who it's
wrong.
fixated on.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. I
There's
always
now
just
freeze tag coming in.
root it.
It's on Carrot, look out.
Carrot, we're playing that game now.
Empty?
It's the empty one. Yep.
Yeah, buddy. Watch
Dodgeball.
Oh, shit.
I mean, you didn't get hit, so
No, it wasn't that.
Vulpin.
Carrot. So this is one of those things as well. It does bleed over time, but range can also, if it gets on a melee, and it's not going to get CC'd, you can just help your melee out. Just kill it for him.
Guess who? Carrot's calling it.
Alright.
Flower? No. Ring.
Very good. It is the ring, yes. Oh, Zeph.
Did I have the ball?
Stop that. Stop that.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
And if we kill her
Dodgeball.
quickly, we don't have to guess who again. Just kidding. We're gonna have to guess.
This should
who
be on
again.
Carrot. I think the
Stupid Vulpin
the
loves
freeze
me.
tag will prioritize spawning close to the person that it's supposed to target. So, all right,
Call it.
the call.
Flower.
Yeah. Oh, that would have killed me on Tyrannical. Ooh, that was bad. I was tunneling. Good shit.
Nicely done, Carrot. Not only were you never wrong, you seemed to understand it very well.
I am a fan of logic puzzles.
And we're good.
Apparently, lily pads count as land.
Don't
Well,
forget
you're
to
not
activate the
dead.
Acorn, just in case we wipe. The Staghorn will have 2 interrupts, resistance and regeneration. I will get whatever one is cast first. Carrot, you get whatever one is cast second. And you and I should be able to cover both interrupts.
Yeah. Green circle around you is just pulsing damage. Don't worry too much about that. Green swirly on the ground is a giant knockback. Do not get hit by that. It will kill you. Especially once we start going on little branches.
He's coming for you. Nice.
Thunderstorm.
Uncool, dude.
What? It's a thunderstorm.
No, the second one.
Oh, the sound effect? Or the second
No,
shade?
you got a second spiteful.
Oh, okay.
And that's a 45-second cooldown.
All right, so be careful. There are some birds in here. They are bees. We call them birds.
I'm sorry. You specifically called an interrupt rotation, and I keep getting button happy.
That's fine. I would rather have too many than not enough. The only time that that's a problem is when we have to have like 5 interrupts ready in a row. But those fights are very few and far between. We're lucky
Cough,
with
coughs. Oop, oop, swirly, swirly.
this group where even our healer has an interrupt, so we're in a really good spot interrupt-wise, but that won't always be the case. If you end up with, like, you know, a healer that can't interrupt, when it's just the tank and, like, 3 range, where you have a hunter and 2 mages or something, where each person has a 20-30 second interrupt, you have to be a little more careful about the order of operations, but...
My god. Okay, that poison dot is awful.
It is not great.
Mm-hmm.
On Fortified, it's particularly bad. Why am I always out of Riptide when I just want more Riptide? Anyways. Good job with that. Specifically, the dungeon Try is referencing, where you need like an interrupt rotation, we call it Spires of Ascension, and it sucks. There's like so many things in there.
Even the Kultharok section of Theater of Pain, like, there's enough where if you had 5 interrupts, you could actually utilize 5 interrupts, so...
Yep.
There will be moments where it can be important, but... If any cast ever gets halfway done, and you don't feel like anybody's gonna get it, go ahead and get it. I'd rather have 1 extra interrupt on cooldown than look at my cooldown tracker and see that everybody's ready and I'm getting pummeled by casters.
Try, where did you go?
Africa.
To the next pull.
Gotcha. There we go. Alright. I looked
Did you
away...
get you too?
Yeah, very funny. I looked away for a second, and my tank was gone, because the group was still dealing with Spitefuls, and Try was gone.
Yep.
I appreciate that you want to do this in time.
The thing that you'll see with a lot of tanks is, like, I'm probably a little undergeared to be quite so cavalier, but Spiteful never targets the tank, so a tank will often continue to move on with the next pull because I don't have to worry about that. So like not in a dickish way, but it will never affect me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the next pull. Yeah, I mean, there's not a nice way to say it.
Yeah. So this is one of those things that you'll notice, particularly to Miss. You may have heard Try talk about it in passing, but we are nowhere near completing our percentage for this run. And that is because the maze is random. So,
well, that's butts.
yeah, so we're going to have to kill some more trash before or after we kill Tredova.
Yeah, we should be close to 92 when this is all said and done, which is basically the next 2 pulls after Tredova to the right in the alcove there. Which is basically the least lucky pull you can get. But that's alright.
Oh, lucky yeah. Oh, wait.
Yep.
Alright,
1 in a million, kid. Tredova, does everybody know how the swirlies dodge, or how the green stuff predicts where you're going to be? Is it worth talking about that, or should we just kill this and we'll talk about it after? Let's talk about it after.
I think we can just kill it.
Yeah.
We'll get people some more loot. It's probably not that big an upgrade for most people, but it's always nice to do it in time.
Afterwards, remind me that we'll have a discourse about this.
Yeah.
Let's let her just full cast the first consume.
Mind blink. Targets move away.
So no interrupts here.
Yeah, you can just keep hitting the boss. You don't have to worry about interrupting. She isn't healing while she's doing this, so...
Why don't you want to interrupt?
Because right now she's...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right.
Because what she's doing is while she's casting Consumption, she's not doing anything else. She's literally just standing there shooting puddles on the ground.
So as long as we can not stand in puddles, it gives the healer, like on Tyrannical Weeks, a chance to get caught up on a ton of damage to the tank, and it buys you free DPS time as DPSers to just tunnel into the boss. Because all it's really doing is just stopping some swirlies on the ground, which hopefully we're able to expertly not stand in. In later phases, it can get tricky.
And the final thing is...
Go ahead.
Yeah. The big thing as well with it is she's also not doing... Like, she's going... Every time she consumes, she goes to empower her mechanics. But obviously, while she's doing that, she's also not doing her empowered mechanics. So she's literally just standing there letting us hit her. And just like that.
I see. Okay. I was just always curious. I'd heard that before, not to interrupt, and I was like, that seems counterintuitive to me.
Yeah. It's one of those things that seems counterintuitive, but when you get to the kind of that thing of... It's kind of also in the same mentality of what happens when you interrupt a mob at the last second. You interrupt a mob early, and immediately just goes back to punching you in the face. Jesus Christ. DBM, calm down. It immediately goes back to punching you in the face. That's it. But if you wait till near the end of a mob's cast bar, it spent that entire time casting that spell, and then you interrupt, and then it does nothing. It's just one of those little... It's kind of a little min-maxy thing, but it gets more useful the higher up you go. Go, Joey, go. Oh, this is a good opportunity for purges.
Mm-hmm.
Spell stole it.
Nice. Very good. Don't do that in the other side. Do not do that to the Deathwalkers. Right. Meg can tell you firsthand what happens.
As can I, sadly. Because even though I was warned, I still got all excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's tricky when you
so
learn...
we're at 99%?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Well done, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
So, going back to Tredova before I forget to talk about it, I'm sure everybody knows, but in case someone doesn't, those green puddles that she drops are entirely predictive. She even says something like, I know exactly what you're going to move before you make it, kind of RP. The second, third, fourth, fifth cast will always be in the direction that you dodged the previous cast. So, if the first drop happens here, and I moved right to get out of it, the next cast will drop one where I was and run and one to the right of that. So then the next best thing is to move back. So then it will drop one where I was, one to the right of that, and then the next cast will be one wherever it spawns, one to the right of that, one behind that. So basically, like I think the best prevailing theory is to make like a cross, 4 directions, and then just make a big move for the 5th cast where you can make your cross again somewhere else. It is very helpful when you start thinking about it in terms of not interrupting consume, because we really want to try to make sure that we're not standing in AoE damage. And so that gets very helpful if you can know for sure like whether or not you're going to get hit by those green swirlies, because where they're going to spawn is already basically known if you can remember where you've been standing.
Clever. I like it.
Yes. She isn't lying when she says she's learning your every move.
So the bosses really are becoming self-aware. No,
I mean, kind of, yeah.
We've got a brain bug.
Shit.
Brain bugs? Finally, I find the thought of a bug that thinks offensive.
I love that movie. Alright, it became Sanguine Depths. Do you guys want to try to do one more?
Or
are we at a good stopping point for the
not
evening?
Able.
Okay. We went pretty hard. We got all the way up to a +5, so we did a 2, a 3, and a 4. That's a pretty good night.
Yeah.
Are there any like generic questions? Did I gloss over anything? Or did anybody walk away from a dungeon still kind of scratching their head going, I don't know why we did that?
I don't think so.
Cool.
I don't think we had...
We didn't. I think we only did one invis skip. I should have found an opportunity in Mists to do another one, but it doesn't hurt to have a few invis potions on you, because there are a couple of dungeons. I always do an invis skip in Halls of Atonement, for example. It's always nice to just have a couple on your body. That way, if the tank says, "Look, the only way we're going to get prideful is by skipping, the next 3 pulls," it's always nice to just have that on you. So if you're going to start venturing into the world of pugging keys, or you want to start doing higher keys even within guild groups, just have 2 or 3 invis potions on you and be familiar with them enough to use them. Next week, I think we can talk about mythic dungeon tools if you want to learn how to plan your own route and share that routing information with everybody in the party. We can go over that a little bit before we do our first key next week. So if you think you're ever going to want to plan your own route for a dungeon, then download Mythic Dungeon Tools, MDT, and have that ready for next week.
Is there any value for the not tank to have that?
Yes.